Hello, welcome to the virtual information session for the Center for Guided Montessori Studies, CGMS. I'm Kitty Bravo, and I'm the Director of Education and one of the partners of CGMS. And I'm really happy to have this opportunity to tell you about the programs that we offer for teacher certification, Montessori teacher certification, for school leadership certification, and for professional development. So let me tell you about our program. We offer what is called a blended learning model, sometimes also called a hybrid model, which combines online learning, distance education, with a short on-site residential program. So let me tell you first about CGMS and our vision. Well, one of the main things that we wanted was to expand the reach of Montessori teacher education in particular beyond the urban areas, the big cities where most of the teacher training programs are located around North America and around the world. So if you weren't fortunate enough to live somewhere where there was a teacher training center within close proximity, you had to pack up and leave for a year like I did, or possibly you'd go to a summer model where you have to be gone for weeks, maybe over 1, 2, or 3 summers. And so we wanted to make Montessori teacher training more accessible. And we also wanted to update Montessori teacher preparation. Now, please keep in mind when I say we want to update Montessori that we're not looking to update Montessori itself. The Montessori approach is over 100 years old and it works. So we're not changing the Montessori methodology, the Montessori philosophy, but we did have as a goal, as our vision, to update teacher training to fit more with 21st century technology, and also to utilize a greater understanding that we now have of adult learner development and how adult learners learn. And in doing so, we came up with this model. So our model for our teacher and our school leadership certification programs is built on 3 components. The first is distance education, and the majority of course content is delivered through online learning, and I'll tell you more about that as we proceed. The second component is student teaching, or what would be called a practicum or an internship experience in a school in your local community. And if you do just those 2 parts, the distance learning and the practicum, the internship, you can receive what is called an associate certificate. Now keep in mind that the associate certificate is not accredited by the Montessori Accreditation Council for Teacher Education, MACT, and so it is important to add that 3rd component. And the 3rd component is a residential session or residential seminar, which is just a short period of time that you come on site to one of our training locations. If you do all 3 of those parts, distance learning, student teaching, and the residential on-site component, then you will be able to get full certification. So let me explain each of those 3 components a little bit more so we can define what is blended learning, what really is involved in this. So the training, it doesn't necessarily begin, actually we usually begin online, but I'll start by explaining that you'll come to a short, small residential session. Typically they're around 15 days. It does vary a little bit depending on the program. And you'll come to one of our designated training sites. These are host schools where we go. We try to choose locations that will be convenient to people within a certain region, and that will provide a wonderful environment for us to learn about Montessori. It also involves that extended group e-learning experience or distance learning experience. I think it's important to define it as an extended group learning experience. This is not like one of those online courses. I don't know if you've ever had to take maybe a driver's improvement course after you've gotten a ticket. I have. And on those kinds of courses, you're reading a lot of information. Maybe there's an occasional video here or there. And then at the end of a segment, you take a test and you move forward. Those kinds of courses are lonely and boring. I did take one that was called Funny in Florida, and it had jokes included in it. But even still, you just kind of try to rip through that as quickly as you can to meet that requirement. So a group e-learning experience is very interactive. It's different. You are working with a group of people through the entire program, working with instructors through the entire program, with contact every week through online discussion forums where you're posting answers and responding to each other. So there's a dialogue going all week long on the course topics. And then also through a weekly live class that's held through video conferencing. And so this keeps you connected and enables you to reflect on course topics and then discuss them, which is a very big part of how we adults learn. And then the third component of that blended learning experience is the 9-month internship or practicum. And this can take place in any Montessori school as long as the school is well prepared, has well equipped Montessori classrooms, and is following the basic components of Montessori best practice. And during that time, while you're in that internship, you're going to have a field consultant that provides support, that visits you either virtually and in person, and provides us feedback on how you're doing. So you're very connected in this program. I'd like to give you a little bit of overview about CGMS and who we are. So we were founded in 2006, and that's when we began developing the program. We were founded by myself, Kitty Bravo, Tim Selden, a very well-known Montessori educator, Jonathan Wolf, again, a well-known Montessori educator, and Tim's son, Mark Selden, who is our business operations director. Mark brings both a background in business and in technology, so it was perfect for the development of this new type of blended learning experience. So our programs are affiliated with the International Montessori Council, IMC. IMC is the third and largest Montessori teacher organization. You've probably heard of AMI, Association Montessori International, and AMS, the American Montessori Society, and IMC is considered the third of the major organizations for Montessori. And then, as I mentioned before, our full certification program, if you do all three parts of the blended learning experience, is accredited by the Montessori Accreditation Council for Teacher Education. And that's all of our teacher certification programs are accredited by MACD. Our early childhood program, which we began our very first cohort in March of 2008, and that program, the early childhood course, was the first predominantly distance learning blended program to receive MACD accreditation. And we were actually very involved with MACD in helping to define the standards for distance learning programs. Now currently we have over 500 active adult learners and over 1,000 alumni. Now let me tell you about our accredited teacher certification programs. We offer teacher education for all levels of Montessori training for teachers. We offer the infant toddler certification for teachers who are going to work with children from birth to 3 years old. Also, that program prepares people to offer parent-infant courses or parent-child courses. And many people will take that course to offer those kinds of programs, but also prepares you to teach in either Montessori infant or toddler environments. Our early childhood course, which some people call primary or pre-primary, prepares teachers to teach children ages 3 to 6 years old. Now for elementary, we offer 3 options. We offer the option to do a standalone Elementary 1 certification, which will prepare you to teach children ages 6 to 9 or 1st through 3rd grade. Then we offer the standalone Elementary 2 certification, or some people call it upper elementary, and that prepares you to teach children 4 to 6 years old. Here in the U.S., that would be 4th through 6th grade. And then we offer what we call the Premier Elementary program, which is a combined program for Elementary 1 and Elementary 2, certifying a teacher to teach children ages 6 to 12. We encourage people to do this program if they can, because then you have a complete understanding of the curriculum for children in what we call the second plane of development, the 6 to 12-year-old. And so whether you're teaching in a lower elementary classroom or an upper elementary classroom, you understand the full continuum and can support your children, whether they're advanced learners or maybe they're struggling and need some of the lower level materials or curriculum. And then it also gives you the greatest level of flexibility for being able to teach in a Montessori school in either the upper or lower level of elementary. Then the next thing we offer is the secondary certification. And for secondary, it is a combined Secondary 1, Secondary 2 program, certifying teachers to work with children, or we should say now young adults or emerging adults, ages 12 to 18. So a person who receives this certification is going to be able to teach either in a Montessori middle school or in a Montessori high school or in a school that combines both. And the reason we combine these two is because the way that that adolescent learns is really pretty much the same whether they are a younger adolescent or an older adolescent. It's just going to be the level of curriculum. An older adolescent is going to be working with a more advanced level of curriculum. But what we will teach will work as far as development of curriculum, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning, Socratic dialogue is really the same approach. And then throughout the course, we're always looking at how it fits the older adolescent and the younger adolescent so that someone's prepared to develop curriculum and work with each of those levels. Now for all of these programs, the ones that work with just a single 3-year grouping will be 18-month long online courses with that 9-month practicum happening concurrently during that 18 months, and also the residential session taking place during that same time. And usually those programs are 15 days or 120 hours. And then for those combined programs, the Elementary 1-2 program and the secondary program, those programs are longer. Elementary 1-2 is 26 months, secondary is 20 months, and they both have 2 residential sessions that take place in the 2 summers that the course is of the continuum of the course. So that gives you a little bit of understanding of the different levels that we offer that are all accredited by MACD, and the ages they work with and how those programs are structured. Now let me tell you about our school leadership program. This is a new program for CGMS, and we're really excited about it. If there's one thing that there's even more of a shortage of, we know there's a great shortage of Montessori teachers worldwide, but an even greater shortage of school leaders. And as Montessori continues to grow, the need for well-prepared school leaders who understand the Montessori way of running a school is really important. So this program is a 16-month online program. Included in that is a 1-week residential session and a 9-month internship, which takes place in the school where you work. So you can, right there in the school where you already have administrative position, you can be putting in practice what you're learning in the course, and with guidance and support from our faculty, from practicum advisors and instructors, and that's the internship part of the program. Now, the school leadership program at this point, and I'm filming this in February of 2020, so at this point, it's not accredited by MACD because MACD has not yet begun to accredit school leadership programs. They are in the process of developing the standards for school leadership. We've worked closely with them on this, providing input, and we expect very soon for them to make accreditation available for this level. And when they do, we'll be ready to apply. We believe our standards will exceed theirs. The one thing I do need to mention is that it's not definite that MACD will only require the 80 hours, which would be a 1-week residency. If they decide, the 40 hours, if they decide for 80 hours, then we'll have to add a week. So let's talk a little bit more about how our programs work and what they look like. So what kind of teaching materials do we use, our teaching strategies? Well, first of all, I think one of the most important parts about our considerations of our program is that assignments are designed around your practical experiences in your practicum. So most of the assignments, with the exception of, occasionally writing a paper to be able to show that you can synthesize the information that you've been learning and communicate that. But the practicum assignments are opportunities for you to put in practice what you're learning in the course. So there'll be observation assignments, record-keeping assignments. For a school leadership program, there'll be assignments to observe in classrooms and provide feedback to your teachers, or work on a student or staff handbook that you need to improve or develop for your school. So these are practical assignments that relate to what you're learning in the course. Just like in every educational experience, there's going to be reading materials. For the majority of the reading assignments, you'll be reading the words of Dr. Maria Montessori in her in the many books that she has written, and then there'll also be other resources, some provided by other Montessorians, such as Dr. Paul Epstein's book, An Observer's Notebook, is an important book in our teacher certification courses. In our leadership course, one of our primary reading materials is the assessment playbook by the National Center for Montessori in the Public Sector. So these are just some samples of the reading materials. So for each level, you get a reading list so that you can acquire the books you need. Some of them will be available online, and enrich your learning experience by reading, reflecting on those readings, and often discussing them in our live classes or our online forums. There'll also be digital resources. These will include videos of lectures and lesson presentations. They will include the online forums where you're discussing course materials. It might include a TED Talk or a YouTube video that's related to the coursework in that particular week. There's also going to be, in some cases, well, in all cases, there'll be some digital handouts that you can print out, save on your computer, and have those resources not only for the course but continuing on. As I mentioned, there'll be recorded theory lectures. So these are lectures that will talk about child development, Montessori philosophy, peace education, and so there'll be quite a few lectures that will be presenting the course content. And then for those teacher certification courses, in particularly early childhood and elementary, there are many video presentations that are the presentations of the actual lessons, that teachers are able to watch those lessons. They can bring their tablet or their laptop or even their phone to the classroom. After school, they can watch a video, practice the lesson, rewind it, watch it again, check on that step one more time. And so this is a really valuable resource. At every level, there'll be some demonstrations. At infant toddler, there's not as many lessons, but in addition to the lessons that we do provide, there's videos on caregiving tasks, like how to hold an infant, how to change a diaper the Montessori way. And at secondary, there's videos such as samples of Socratic dialogue or a field experience. So there's videos at every level of some kind of demonstration. As I mentioned before, another resource for the course is the weekly live class. This is facilitated by the instructor for the course. We call that online instructor your IG, your instructional guide. And the IG will plan a group learning experience that'll happen live through video conferencing based on the topics in the course, and also bringing in classroom leadership topics and opportunities to share your experiences in the classroom and brainstorm and problem solve as a group. So it's a great opportunity to build a learning community and learn from each other and go deeper into the course topics. We use other e-learning tools such as our system for uploading videos, so that an adult learner can upload a video of themselves giving a presentation, and then they're assigned a practice partner who watches your video and provides feedback. And then finally, I think one of the most important teaching materials that our courses provide is other learners. People think that online learning is going to be lonely and a lot of work by yourself, but our courses are designed to be interactive because we adults learn best in community. Now, I'd like to give you an opportunity to see what our courses actually look like. So you'll see on the screen, on the left side, we're looking at one of our actual courses. This is the very first early childhood course, and it's the week when we introduce the sensorial curriculum. You'll see the names of the instructors, and I was the instructor for that first course. You'll see a link to the course guide, which is the syllabus for the course. The link to the sensorial album, one of our digital resources we provide for the teacher certification courses, are the material reference books or the lesson plan albums, so that you can click on that, download the album, save it on your computer, print it out so you have a hard copy resource. Then the course goes on to talk about the different assignments with links to assignment instructions. You can see in this particular case, there's a link to a study guide that goes with the reading assignments for the sensorial course. Now this is a screenshot, so we can't scroll down, but if we could, we'd see the link to the videos for that week, and we'd see the link to the discussion forums. On the right side, you see a screenshot of a discussion forum. So in that particular week, I asked a question. We don't see my question, but I asked a question about how the sensitive periods for early childhood are supported in the sensorial area. And Karen, who was usually the first to come in and answer questions, gave a really great response. She gave examples of different Montessori materials in the sensorial area and how they support movement and order and so on. And then after her response, we see that Monica came in and replied. And again, if we could scroll down, we'd see some replies from me. We'd see replies from other students, so that all week long there's this dialogue about course topics. And again, this enables you to go deep. When I was a teacher trainer for several other training programs, I was frustrated. There just was never enough time for the discussions, and to me this was such an important part of the course. The way that we learn why we do what we do, and what are the things children need to do before, so we can know who's ready for this work and where is it leading them and what comes next. Children deserve teachers who study deeply. And so opportunities to read, reflect, discuss are important ways that teachers can go deep into the curriculum to better understand Montessori philosophy, to better understand children, to better understand best practice, and probably most of all, to better understand themselves. And so the discussion forums and the weekly live class are an important part of the CGMS blended learning model. So I mentioned theory lectures. You can see on this screen just a variety of the people that we have. For each level, there are many theory instructors. But I wanted to just show you a sampling so you can see the diversity of our group. In the top left corner is Ann Winkler, our elementary director. They call her Cosmic Ann because she presents wonderful presentations on the cosmic curriculum, which is the core of the elementary course. Next is Dr. Paul Epstein, who presents the observation course. Paul was an anthropologist in his early studies, and really has delved deep into understanding what Montessori meant by observation as the method, as the Montessori method, and presents a wonderful 3-week observation course. One of our founders, Tim Selden, and I present the Montessori philosophy for most of the courses. Some of our lecture videos are in every level. Val Weiss at the top presents administrative topics, not just for our leadership course, but we believe that it's important for every level to understand what the administrator's role is in a Montessori school, so they can be supportive of their administrator, know how to go to the administrator for help, and then who knows, some of those people are surely to be future administrators in Montessori schools. Next, we have Kathy Leach, who is the Executive Director for the International Montessori Council, and we're fortunate to have her as a level director both at the infant toddler level and for our leadership course. And she presents lectures in early childhood, in infant toddler, and in the leadership course. And then at the bottom we have Jocelyn Swanson, who presents some wonderful lectures for our secondary program. The next thing I want to share with you is about the lesson presentations. As I mentioned before, how valuable it is for teachers to be able to watch these presentations, rewind them, watch them again. And these videos are available to our graduates for as long as we exist. And that's a great benefit. And I've had our graduates tell us they come back 2 or 3 years later and watch lessons again, or come back every year and watch some of the start of the school year lectures to help get them ready for their new school year. So having that resource is really valuable. So we see on the screen, Tracy Hall in the top left corner is presenting food prep for infant toddlers. Ann Winkler on the right side is presenting parts of the cell to an upper elementary student. Yes, I know she looks like an adult, but she really is just an upper elementary student, probably about 12 years old. At the bottom left, we see a close-up of the checkerboard, which is a multi-digit multiplication lesson that is used at the elementary level. So you can see how we can go in close, so the adult learners are able to really see close up how to do these lessons. On the bottom right, we see constructive triangles for the early childhood level. And in the middle is our secondary group with Jocelyn engaged in a Socratic dialogue, Socratic inquiry discussion. So again, you see that we bring the course alive to you, even though you're watching that at home, or at your office, or in the classroom during nap time. Our digital resources, as I mentioned before, include curriculum albums. So on this screen, you'll see a sample of our early childhood math album. You can see how detailed step-by-step the presentation is provided, kind of like a cookbook with step-by-step directions. And then there are pictures showing different steps along the way. And so you combine this resource, the album, along with the videos, and you really have a great learning experience and an opportunity to really master those tricky Montessori lessons. Now at the infant, toddler, and the secondary levels, where the program isn't as dependent on Montessori materials, you'll receive a lot of resources that the adult learner combines together to create their albums. So you're receiving the albums, but it's more resources, and then your notes are added to that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the residency experience. And this is where you come in person for a live group experience on site. Now, in today's world, you can have a pretty incredible virtual experience. You could have a big screen TV and surround sound, and you could watch an opera, and it could be an amazing experience and really, touch your heart. But even still, it's not the same as sitting in the audience and the lights dim and the excitement, the anticipation as the curtains open. And it's not the same as laughing and crying with an entire audience of people. So I think there's still value, even though we can reach out, just like I'm doing now, and reach out to you via your computer or your whatever device of your choice. It's important to connect. That's why we have so many opportunities for virtual connection, but it's also valuable to connect in person. So as we evolved in the first few years of our program, we really spent time trying to determine what is it we want people to get for this brief, intense time that we come together. We pack a lot into 15 days of the residential experience. what we finally came to is, while it's important that we show lessons, and there's certainly going to be some lecture and a lot of discussion time, we needed to think about what can't you get virtually. And so we realized that the important thing is for the residential classes to be about having a Montessori experience. And so as much as possible, we try to give opportunities for you to experience what Montessori is like for the children or the young adolescents that you will work with. So we think of it as a Montessori experience. So I have a few pictures to share and a few quotes from our adult learners, because I think that says it all. So first, we're looking at an early childhood, a couple of pictures from our early childhood sessions. One, I hope you see how lovely the environments are. Coming in, physically experiencing a well-prepared environment is an important part of the residency. But you see a couple of our adult learners practicing, and in one of the pictures you see one of our instructors side by side with the adult. So at the early childhood level, we spend time, not every day, but most every day, in what we call Montessori work cycle. The adult learner comes in and they practice working with the materials just as a child would. So they're not coming in with their albums. They're not practicing the lesson like they would teach it to a child. They're coming in and just doing the work. And they have to choose for themselves what they're going to work on. And the two instructors that are there will work just like a teacher does in a Montessori classroom, just like a Montessori guide, giving one-on-one lessons, small group lessons, redirecting and guiding our adult children who are at work. So let's hear what some of the adult learners had to say about that. One of our learners said, and you can see two of them practicing or working, we should say, during the work cycle. And one of them said, "The most meaningful to me was having the work sessions to interact with the materials just like the children. It gave me so much insight, empathy, and understanding for the children I will be serving." And so we were pleased to get that feedback, because that was our goal, for them to get a sense of what it was like for the children. They'll say things like, "Gosh, now I understand why my children wander. I found myself wandering. I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do." Or how frustrated they were when we rang the bell because they were in the middle of something. You know, we could talk about that all day long, but when you experience it, you really know and understand. Someone else said, "These weeks of immersion Montessori have been deeply personal, professional, and life enriching. Every day has been a dense, full, rich journey." And then I love this picture, because what we see is a group of adults that pulled off some of the practical life lessons. They're really, you can see they're really thinking about it. They're discussing the sequence of these materials, what comes next, why. They're really discussing the why and the how behind this work. And someone said, "I loved being able to be in the environment and being able to really talk through the nitty-gritty discussion, discussing the reasoning, brainstorming how to make it work in our own environments." Now let's talk about the infant toddler level. And in these pictures, I love that you see people measuring chairs and sitting, in the environment at the child's level, and really thinking about what does it take to create an environment that meets the needs of these children. Just think about the incredible changes that happen in the human being between birth and 3 years old. There is a lot to study. Often people think that the infant toddler training is probably easy. I mean, you're only working with babies. And it's actually one of our most intellectually challenging courses because there is deep study of neuroscience, brain development, and human development along this time. And what happens in the residential session at this level is day by day, our infant gets a little bit older. And every day they'll discuss, for instance, they'll say, okay, today our infant is 3 months old. And together they'll explore what are the needs of that infant. They will work together to change the environment to provide for those needs. And then they'll get experience with the kinds of activities that the children need at that level. And it continues every day through the 15 days so that by the end, the child is 3 years old and we're talking about how do we transition to the next level. So it's really a fun experience. Here we can see the group, this is one of our infant toddler groups having lunch together, and while that's a wonderful community experience, they also use this experience to talk about how important it is to have rituals and community experiences, communal eating with infants and toddlers and how to go about doing that. And then one of our adult learners said, I learned the most from the stories from all the other students, especially the challenging moments that they had at their schools. And they said this experience was life-changing. Another said, through this experience, I got to see, hear, touch, and taste things in a very carefully prepared toddler environment. For me, there is no better way to prepare myself. I was shown how to do things and then had the opportunity to try them myself and to ask questions when I needed further guidance. So, we all learned best by doing, not just children, we adults as well. So to be able to be in a well-prepared environment and have that experience and then to be able to ask questions right on the spot is a real benefit of the residential session. And in the picture on the left, you can see the adult learners, the student teachers gathered around a table making materials. At every level of teacher certification, there'll be some material making that takes place during the residential session. Now, at the elementary level, one of the characteristics of elementary children is how social they are, and they like to do everything together. So when we see pictures in our elementary program, you often see 2 or 3 teachers working together, as you see with the small group working on the checkerboard, and at the bottom a group that's working on one of the geography charts. At the top right corner you see a material making project that they do in the residential session. We have small molds of the skulls of early humans, and each adult learner makes their own set of early human molds, and then they paint them and they're able to use them in their timeline of humans. And this is only one sample of some of the really fun materials that they make during that session. And they also work on projects during this session, because elementary is very much a project-based learning approach. It begins in elementary with the great lessons, which are part of Dr. Montessori's cosmic curriculum. The cosmic curriculum is a way to explore the universe, explore the world and the interconnection of all life, to answer all the questions or some of the questions that we humans have always asked, or not really answer them, but really celebrate the questions and the exploration. So during the residential session, we present the 5 great lessons that are the core of the cosmic curriculum. You could say they're a jumping off point. And these are really big, dramatic presentations. So for instance, the first great lesson is how the universe began. And we begin with a big presentation, dramatic, of the Big Bang. And then from that, there's science experiments to explore the matters, the properties of matter, the properties of, earth, air, so on. And those are key lessons that are follow-up to this. And one student said, I really liked experiencing the great lessons and the key lessons. Those presentations were powerful. And in this picture, you see two of the adult learners sharing the project that they did together. And they did this during the 15 days that they were in training, after the first few days when we've presented the great lessons and the charts. There's a whole series of charts that present different topics. And then their project was to create lessons that bring those charts to life, that give children an opportunity to experience this. And this does two things. It prepares the teachers to be able to create their own projects to bring the charts to life, but it also helps them understand how to guide children to create their projects that bring the charts to life. So you want both things happening. You want teachers creating materials that extend and enrich the curriculum, and then you want children to be able to do projects of their own. And then practice. Practice is extremely important during the residential session, both during the work cycle time when they're not practicing giving the lesson, but they're practicing with the materials to get a better understanding and appreciation for those materials, and then time that we provide to practice lessons that we are demonstrating during the residential session, because we will introduce each of the curriculum levels, each of the curriculum areas, and present key lessons, and then they'll have opportunities to practice them. And one of the adult learners said, I like the lesson demonstrations and the opportunity to ask questions afterwards. The practice has been really important as well. Now moving on to the secondary level. Secondary is all about working with others. Secondary learners, adolescents, are very much trying to find their place in society. And as a result, projects, business opportunities, field learning experience, environmental learning experiences are all really important, and community building is important. So in this picture at the bottom, we can see one of our groups at residential doing a community building activity where they hold hands and have to keep a balloon up in the air. Simple little activity, but it gives them that sense of we have to work together. And then you can see two of the adult learners who have finished a project and they're getting ready to share that with the group. We try to give the adult learners in the secondary level experiences that they can replicate in their own school and that help them understand how to develop curriculum around these experiences. So one of the things that we did in the North Carolina and Indiana residential was a farmer's market. So they worked in pairs or small groups, and they actually created products. You can see these gentlemen created a little brooms to sell. There was some baking, some tie-dye, and they learned again how to create the curriculum around this, how to plan it out, and they got to experience it. And then on the last day, they had a farmer's market, and the adult learners from the other levels could come and purchase some of their products. And one of the adults said, I liked the process of setting up the farmer's market stalls and practicing the marketing and teamwork. And I also loved the field experiences, because at every residential for secondary, they're going to go out in the community to either do a community service project or take advantage of a something that is in that community that's maybe historical or environmental. And again, they'll work on developing the curriculum around that, and then they go out and have the experience. And one of the most exciting things to me is to get the feedback from the adult learners after they get back in their own schools and they tell us that they put the farmers market in place in their school, or the museum project that we do at residential, or the field experience, or all three. So it's really great. And then I loved these two quotes. This one is similar to what we heard from Infant Toddler. One person said, "I like being able to connect with and hear from other Montessori teachers about what works well in their classrooms, as well as solutions to challenges they faced." And you can see these pictures of some of our secondary learners working on projects. One gentleman there is presenting his museum project. That was something they did during the session. And I loved this quote. "This session reminded me of what it feels like to be a learner and a beginner again." So again, I feel like, great, we're accomplishing our goal as a teacher education program. We're giving them the experience of being a learner so that they can take that understanding back with them and create those similar experiences in their school and have better understanding of what their students, the children they work with, or the adolescents, are experiencing in the classroom. And this is a great quote that kind of sums up the experience. Someone said, "The most meaningful takeaway from this experience is that I can be an awesome Montessori guide. I truly connected on a deeper level with everything I experienced at this residency. I learned so much from the trainers, and they made this program something special. It was the most amazing experience of my life." So, I couldn't ask for something better, for someone to say that they come away with the confidence and knowledge that they can do it, that they can be an awesome Montessori guide, is really meaningful to us. As I wrap up the residential, I'll share this screen with some of the wonderful words that our adult learners use to describe our faculty. And these words don't just describe the residential faculty. We hear the same thing about our online instructors. They're approachable. They are great presenters. They sparked my imagination. They were unbelievably supportive. They shared their passion for Montessori. And we're really fortunate to have a great group of instructors at every level. The majority of our Montessori instructors, our teacher trainers, have 15 to 40 years experience. We have a few people that we have carefully chosen from among our graduates that may only have 6 to 10 years experience. But as I said, the majority of our instructors have many, many years experience to share with our adult learners. And they've worked in all different kinds of schools. We have people who've worked in very small one classroom schools that only have, early childhood, or maybe have infant, toddler, and early childhood. We have people who've worked at large private schools and people who've worked in public Montessori schools. And so we're able to find mentors for our adult learners no matter what kind of school and experience that you're getting. So as we come close to the end of this presentation, I want to just sum up with talking a little bit about what is the student experience, the adult learner experience with CGMS. Well, you're going to learn in a very highly interactive, supportive online community. As I mentioned many times already, you're going to collaborate with your work, about your work with your group on a weekly basis. You're going to be supported and mentored by passionate and very experienced Montessori educators. You will perform a full school year internship where you're going to receive both in-person and virtual support. And if you're doing one of our full certification programs, you'll attend one or more residential location, one or more residencies at one of our locations. We believe there are some distinct advantages to taking one of the CGMS certification programs. We really believe blended learning is the best of both worlds, both on-site training and online learning. And so one of the advantages is that you will work on your weekly goals. It isn't just self-paced, go as fast as you want, or, well, if I don't feel like working this week, that's okay. You will have a schedule with weekly assignments, weekly goals to work towards and hopefully meet. And so you'll work on those at your convenience. You know, I like to say you can come to school in your pajamas. You can go to class with a glass of wine or a cup of tea, and you can turn the professor off when you get tired of us. So those are definitely big advantages. It is convenient. I will stress it's not easier. It takes a lot of organization and a lot of personal commitment. But because you have those videos and albums available to you, you have an opportunity to master tricky presentations, the difficult lessons, because you can watch them over and over again. You can come back to them 3 months later when now you have somebody ready for that lesson and you haven't done it in a while, and you can review it. It also, the way our program is structured, the curriculum unfolds slowly. You get only so much in a given week, so you have more time to really absorb the information. And we believe that that is a real advantage to this program over the summer models where you go and you get lesson after lesson after lesson, and then you walk away with a very full brain trying to sort it out and make it all work for you. You also have an opportunity in this course to videotape yourself, to watch your videos and learn from what you see you do and say and how you do it, and to get feedback from fellow students and instructors on your videos. And speaking of feedback, we have a great support system. We take the guided part of our name very seriously. Each group is led by an educational expert, as I said, most with 15, 20, 30, even 40 years experience. And we call that instructor an instructional guide. They're really there to guide you through the process. You'll have the same instructor for the entire 18 to 20 some odd months that you're in the course. Our instructors and our practicum advisors, our field consultants, are available to you by phone, by email. You can text them, you can video conference with them, and they're very responsive. If they're not responsive, you need to let me know, because again, we take the guided part very seriously. But over and over again in the feedback from our graduates, we hear them say they just can't believe how many people there were to help them and support them through this program and how responsive they were. We also have a technical support staff. We're not big enough to have somebody sitting by the phone 24 hours a day, but you can email tech support when you have a question or a computer glitch, and they'll get back to you, usually within an hour or two, definitely within 24 hours, and help you through the process. We can't fix your computer for you from a distance, but if it's something that has to do with our course system or a setting in your computer, our tech support can help you take care of that problem. If you do need something that is beyond our scope, then they'll give you advice on where to go to get some more help. And then again, you'll get practicum advice. While you're putting this in practice in your internship, you'll have a field consultant that comes to visit you. If you're doing what's called a self-directed internship, where you're the lead teacher while you're in training, you'll be assigned a personal mentor, a practicum advisor who will meet with you at least once a month in video conference to help support you to learn what you need to learn to work through any challenges that you may have in your classroom. And in addition to that, you have your online instructor that you're meeting with every week in live class who can provide support for that practical experience as well. I'll wrap up with telling you about where we are currently, again in February of 2020. We offer every level of teacher certification, and our full certification programs are MACD accredited. At this time, we're enrolling our first school leadership cohort. Perhaps when you watch this in the future, that program will be well on its way. We also offer our early childhood program in Mandarin, and we'll be soon offering the program in Spanish. We're in the later stages of translating and developing the early childhood course to Spanish. We have had over 1,000 students in any given year between those who are taking our certification courses and those who take our shorter professional development courses. And as I said before, all our certification courses, full certification, are MACD accredited, and we have residential sites all around the U.S., and we've had residential sites in China, and this year we'll have our first in Jakarta. We'll have an elementary site in Jakarta. Additionally, our professional development courses are shorter courses offered for both assistant teachers, support staff, administrators, and experienced teachers for continuing education. These courses range from 4 to 10 weeks. Our introduction courses, the Montessori Beginnings, which is an introduction to infant toddler, our early childhood fundamentals, and our elementary fundamentals are 10-week courses that are all online. Then we have an observation course, a special needs course, and periodically we'll offer webinars. So we offer a lot of opportunities for continued learning or for introductory learning to Montessori. And then another service we offer is called the Montessori Library. And this is kind of like Netflix for Montessori. You can get a subscription and access to our video library and be able to access both our printed resources and our videos of lectures and lessons. It's an inexpensive resource. Subscriptions for a month for one particular curriculum area start as low as $5 for the month. So it is something that is accessible and affordable for teachers who want to review or for someone who's looking for an introduction to Montessori. So is CGMS right for you? Well, our successful students are comfortable with the computer. They're familiar with a computer. They have access to a computer. We don't run into that problem anymore, but in the early days, we'd actually have people want to enroll who didn't have a computer. So you do have to have a computer. Most importantly, you have to have self-motivation, initiative, good time management skills, good organization skills. You have to be able to prioritize your time. We say that our courses, for the most part, require about 10 to 15 hours a week. Our leadership course, more like about 8 hours a week. But that's 10 hours of planned time, not spare time, because if it's spare time, it's too easy to let it go. You really have to plan your time. You have to make it a priority. If somebody calls you up and say, hey, let's go to the movie on Saturday afternoon, but this was the time you set aside to get caught up on your week's work, you have to be able to say no and be able to make your schoolwork a priority. If you really put in and schedule that 10 hours and put it in, you'll be able to keep up and get the most out of this course. This course is for dedicated adult learners who cannot attend a full-time or summer model residential program. It's not practical. It won't work maybe for your family situation, or it's too far and not cost effective. It's also for people who want this type of learning experience. More and more we're finding people who have done online classes in college. They like this type of learning. They recognize the advantages of a blended learning program, in particular, the advantage of being able to really reflect on course topics and discuss them with others, because the pace of the course and the online structures make that possible. So I appreciate you taking the time to go through this presentation and learn more about our program. If you'd like more information, please email us at info@guidedmontessoristudies, at info@cgms.edu. And you can go to our website at www.cgms.edu. So please do reach out to us. We'd love to share more information. Our admissions staff, they're fabulous, and they'll be happy to talk to you by phone or connect with you by email, and also we'll connect you with one of our level directors or myself to explore the course even further if needed. So thank you for your time, and I hope that we can be of support to you, or if you're a school administrator, to some of the teachers as you continue on your Montessori journey.